So what should we be expecting going into next week? And the impulsive move is so much, but I'd like to see price pull back into this 2530.952 area before taking off. Will that happen? The chances of that happening is very, very slim because it's a long way down, but so that was last week on gold, but price, remember if you watched that last week's video, I was actually skeptical about price coming all the way down to 2,530. I said, okay, it could come close, but there was no zone looking left that I could actually target except for this one, okay? Because in trading, you need to focus on what makes sense. So however, price came close before taking off. I've always known that it's going to be a bullish gold going into the new week actually. But going into next week, what should we be expecting? You can see price is currently trading around 2,624 area. So right now, price has been so impulsive for quite some time. I think right now I'm going to be expecting price to pull back into 2,585.66 before we take off again. Historically, there are no zones I could use as targets, but you can just look for a nice 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 trade from this level right so here. Depending on what your execution strategy looks like, we'll be looking for buys around 2,585.66. Remember, when price is approaching that region, you want to switch over to a much lower time frames like the 15 minutes, 30 minutes time frame to look for good trading opportunities. All right, so that is that on gold. The next on our list is DXY. So I still remain bearish, at least, even though we are ranging, but I'm more bearish than bullish going into next week. I think I'm just going to put a level here. I'll put a zone around here. So I'd like to see DXY pull back into either of these zone, this 101.285 level and 101.386 level. All right, so I'd like to see price pull back into that level before selling off. Our target remains 100.519. Welcome back, guys. You can see that last week I was actually expecting to see price pull back into this region, right? Initially, price opened last week and we traded downward, but we still went back to retest that zone as I rightly predicted, and price continued into our initial target, which is 100.519, right? So going into next week, what should we be expecting? First of all, I'd like to look at the weekly time frame. Now, looking at the weekly time frame, remember, if you've been watching my videos, I've always wanted to see DXY come into 99.896 region, and we are actually headed that way, right? Then on the daily time frame, what is happening? We're actually quite choppy right now. I mean, throughout last week we moved sideways technically in a range, right? But on the 4 hour, I think what I'll be expecting is, hey, if you want to sell DXY, if you want to be bearish on DXY, I would advise you wait for price to break and close between 100.519 on the 4 hour time frame. So wait for price to create a new lower low, lower than this region here, then catch it on the pullback on a much lower time frame. Then our target remains 99.896. And of course, for bullish scenario, then price has to continue pushing up. You'll be patient and only buy when price breaks above 101.386, right? Create a new higher high. Then you catch it on the pullback on a much lower time frame and go for a nice 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 trade. So these are the bullish and bearish scenarios I can see on DXY, but I am more bearish than bullish. All right, so the next on my list is GBPUSD. The zone I'll be looking out for on GBPUSD will be around here. I would like to see price come into that region. Where is my come into that region before taking off, maybe with this trend line above being our initial target. Welcome back, guys. So if you've been buying from the lowest point here, which I rightly predicted in my two previous videos, you would have still been making all this money to the upside, right? But last week I actually wanted to see price pull back into this region, which of course didn't happen. Price just continued higher into our first target, which is this trend line, and broke above it. So going into next week, what should we be expecting? First of all, let me see how we closed for last week. Super bearish candle, and this is our next target, which is 1.34021. So how do we take advantage of this? I'll go back to the 4-hour time frame, and I'm going to create a zone around here. Create a zone around here. So I'm going to put this line here. So guys, I would like to see price pull back into 1.32604 and 1.32377 region before taking off. I'd like to see that price could open next week and just continue higher, which in that case, except if you've been buying from the lowest points, it's no problem. You're going to make all your money all the way to the top. But for now, if price initially decides to give us a pullback next week, then I'd like to see price pull back into these regions here. And then this is where I'll be looking for bullish trading opportunities to the upside. And of course, for bearish scenarios, then I would like to see price break below 1.32377 like this, break below it, then come back for a retest, then we'll trade into 1.31030. All right, but the bullish scenario is what I'd like to see play out. I'd like to give scenario 2 just in case scenario 1 fails. All right, so that is that on GBPUSD. But before we go to the next pair on our list, if you've made it this far, you're yet to like this video, please do so now. Make sure you smash the subscribe button if you're yet to do so also, and make sure you leave us a fire emoji in the comment section down below. And if you also have any ideas you may want to share, please use the comment section down below. Heartfelt gratitude as you do so. So let's get back to the charts. The next on my list is EURUSD. On EURUSD, I'll be expecting a bearish to bullish scenario. So I'd like to see price pull back into those zones, which is between 0.5 and 0.6 fib level, before we take off. All right, my target remains 1.11986. Welcome back, guys. You can see EURUSD actually tried to attempt that pullback, came this close, but of course that didn't happen before taking off. As a matter of fact, price actually broke out of the trend line, came back to retest that trend line before taking off again. That was what happened. So if you actually know how to trade these concepts, I believe you should be able to take advantage of this regardless. But going into next week, what should I be expecting? My next target for EURUSD remains 1.12001. All right, here. But price, if you look at how price is stalling around here, price could decide to come back for a pullback. So now it is our job to identify where that is. That pullback going to happen for a fact? We don't know, right? But it's our job to be able to take position. So it's our job to be able to anticipate where that pullback will most likely come into. I mean, if you're not in this trade already, so that you can take advantage of that trade idea, right? So I'm going to look for a zone around here. It's going to be a pretty wide zone. So I think, let me even delete this. So I think I'd like to see price pull back into this region, which is between 1.11272 and 1.11438. So I'd like to see price pull back into that zone like this. Then there is where you're going to use whatever confirmation you use on the much lower time frames, like the 15 minutes time frame, 30 minutes time frame. Then it's going to be a short move to the upside here, which is 1.12001, or here 1.12421. all right. Then for bearish scenario, what if the bullish scenario fails? Then if price breaks below 1.11272, you want to catch it on the pullback on a much lower time frame, then you want to trade into this 1.10516 area. All right, so these are my bullish and bearish scenarios on EURUSD. But however, I'm more bullish than bearish, definitely. All right, so the next on my list is USDJPY. But if you're not already in this trade, let me look for an area where price may come into before selling off again, I think. So let's see what price does between here and here, between 141.376 and 141.071. So let's see if price can tap into that zone, then give you your bearish confirmation that we want to sell into 140.0005. So welcome back, guys. You can see how price made its way into our 140 points double or 000, but that was when price opened in the new week, right? Price just continued lower, but we eventually went back into that zone, which of course, as usual, if you had switched to the 15 minutes time frame around here, I mean, at some points, depending on where you got in, if you got in from up above here, whatever, you could get 3.74 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So even though after the retest price didn't make its way to our overall target, at least you must have broken even or taken some profit out of the market. Bottom line, it actually worked, and bottom line, price actually came into our overall target. And what do you notice as price came into our overall target? It took off. So what should we be expecting going into next week? If I go to the weekly time frame here, I can see that price is bouncing off this region here, right? 140.000. Price tapped in there and took off, closing this last week with a bullish engulfing candle. So going into next week, I'm expecting more bullish price action on USDJPY. All right, let's go to the forward time frame. Price is currently trading on the forward time frame. Sorry about all these lines. All right, let me even delete some of them. So price is currently trading at this resistance here, which is between 143.703 and 144.236. All right. So what I'd like to see happen is for next week, if I was trading USDJPY, which I don't, if I was trading USDJPY, I'd like to see price take out 144.236 because I am more bullish than bearish. So any bearish move is just a pullback. All right, it's just a pullback. So going into next week, I'd like to see price break out of 144.236. Then I would like to catch it on the pullback on a much lower time frame. Then my target will be 145.903. All right, so for the pullback, in case you don't want to wait to buy above here, then maybe you want to jump in earlier, I'll just anticipate an area where I think price may most likely pull back into, which is around here. All right, let me put lines there so that you can identify them easily. So the lines I'm talking about is between 142.452 and 141.867. So price may come in for a pullback into here before taking off to that same target, which is 145.903. So whichever one plays out, this is what I would like to see going into next week. So that's that on USDJPY. This week I'm introducing a new pair, which is GBPJPY. You guys have been requesting for it for far too long now, so I want to include it today. All right, so I'll just stick to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame for GBPJPY, I think price is stalling around here on the 4-hour time frame. That's a sign of weakness, but the market can still do whatever it chooses to do, right? So price may continue into 193.269, very possible. But if price is going to go for a pullback, like I've always mentioned, you need to be able to anticipate where that pullback is most likely going to come into. Very important. So for now, I would like to see that pullback come into here, which is 189.872 and 188.967. Okay, so I'd like to see price pull back into that region. Then you want to look for your bullish confirmation from here to buy into 193.269. So even though price breaks below that zone, I am not bearish on JPY pairs next week. I'm more bullish. All right, so even though price breaks below that zone, then I'll be waiting to catch the buy at a much lower zone again, which can be around here, which is between 186.651 and 185.878. So that will be another region where I can catch a buy from to target that same target up above. All right, so time will not permit me to go into every tiny little details explaining my mindset behind why my analyses are always so accurate. All right, so if you actually want to learn how to do all this, make sure you grab any of our mentorship programs. The link is going to be in the description of this video down below. So that is that on GBPJPY. So I'm introducing NAS also today, NAS 100 indices. All right, so it's just going to be a simple analysis. We already know that NAS is an uptrending security, right? So and we've seen 2 consecutive weeks of bullish price action. Let's check out the daily. time frame, we're seeing some kind of weakness here, but we are still bullish anyway, so which means we may go for a pullback into where, as usual, I'm anticipating where the pullback will most likely come into. I have a trend line below here that has been tested multiple times, and I have a zone around here. All right, so I am actually looking for price to come into this zone before taking off again. Historically, there's no target, or okay, yeah, we have a target here that we can use. I'm just going to put this here. All right, so I'd like to see price coming to 20,787.5 on this one. All right, so I'd like to see price pull back into either of these areas, which is 19629.5 and 19375.3. All right, you know the drill. Switch to a much lower time frame. Look for your bullish confirmation, whatever strategy you use, and then target this zone. All right. But if price is going to go for a deeper pullback and you want to take advantage of that, then wait for price to take out 19375.3, then catch it on the pullback. Then you can target this low here, which is around 18,363.1. All right, so those are my bullish and bearish scenario. But I'm more bullish, of course. I am more bullish. I'll expect to see price pull back here, because if price should continue downward, which means we're most likely going to see that weekend bearish, which I actually don't see happening. So I think price may most likely bounce off between these two zones to the upside. All right, so I'm more bullish than bearish. Thanks for staying to the end of this video, and if you're here to smash that like button or subscribe, do so now. Share this video, comment down below, and I wish you a successful trading week, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye guys.